Okay, so let me drop a massive ironclad disclaimer right before the first 30 seconds of this video. This is in no way, shape, or form a defense of Bear. His actions are entirely indefensible. If you watched this movie and found yourself walking away trying to justify what he did, you're either like me when I first watched Dune, meaning you just didn't understand it, or you think Griffith from Berserk did nothing wrong and was completely justified, which if that's the case, you really need to get some help. Safe to say there is no middle ground here or there when it comes to Bear being the bad guy of this movie, period. But now that we've established the basic baseline of human sanity, we need to talk about how half of this video is going to be a defense of a creator who's getting unfairly dogpiled, but also kind of makes sense as to why, and the other half is a harsh critique of why his review failed. Because frankly, both sides have points here, and we need to start with the patient zero of this entire controversy, Alex Meyers. When Alex Meyers uploaded his review titled "Obsession is an Insane Movie," the internet didn't just disagree, it revolted. Within days, the video received tons of backlash, causing him to explain himself in a pinned comment, which, despite the amount of times he constantly says Bear is a bad dude in both the video and the comment, it then received tons of backlash. He then uploads a defensive response video where he apologizes if his wording wasn't clear and clarified that he doesn't defend Bear's actions. Before it was then met with backlash and deleted shortly after, before he made a post stating that both his review and response video and anything to do with this movie had been deleted, where he apologizes for the offenses he's caused and states he would be more mindful with his words and jokes in the future. And even with this, it was met with backlash and tons of it. It's too much to even get into. He lost tens of thousands of subscribers for it, and there's now a bunch of hit pieces on the guy, as well as some people even calling for his removal from the platform. Watching this immediate fallout, you'd think Alex intentionally set out to downplay and to defend, essay, and validate the actions of a predator. But if we actually step back from the pitchforks and torches and actually look at his body of work, the truth is much less malicious, yet entirely more fascinating. Alex Meyers didn't have bad intentions. He had a fundamental breakdown in translation. So, in case we don't know, Alex Meyers is a prominent American YouTube content creator, animator, and media critic who's best known for making animated comedic reviews of popular TV shows and movies you often find somewhere like the CW. He launched his primary YouTube channel, Alex Meyers, in 2015. He originally focused on traditional video essays before pivoting to his signature format of short animated commentary videos, which is the content he's known for today. For years, Alex's brand has been built on lighthearted, hyper-simplistic animated roasts featuring sarcastic comments of teen dramas and cheesy thrillers. He's covered shows like Wednesday, he's done Smallville, really good show by the way, and a bunch of other shows from the 2000s, and he's even got a whole series on Riverdale and how corny that show was. Is that even still going? He summarizes shows and movies at a very surface level, relying on trope dissection and comedic exaggeration. The problem is, Obsession isn't like Riverdale or any other CW TV show he's covered before. It's a low-budget, deeply unsettling psychological horror film that serves as a direct allegory for coercion, stolen agency, and the terrifying realities of a non-consistent relationship, not a cheesy rom-com from the 2000s with corny acting choices. Taking the movie and throwing it into his usual video model and format was, quite frankly, a jarring shift when I saw it. It also would end up hurting him in the long run, too. And it was also kind of a terrible idea. When he tried to apply surface-level comedy to a film with heavy topics like this, the gears completely stripped. But because he chose the wrong tone and reviewed it like any other movie or show he's reviewed before on his channel, his words became incredibly easy to twist. Now, aside from his style of commentary, the problem starts like this. In reviewing the film, Alex sets out to explain his nuanced take on the film's protagonist and villain, Bear. In his effort to give Bear some nuance, he ends up giving a lot of people the impression that he sympathizes with and defends Bear and the actions of Bear. He states that when going into the movie, he expected Bear to be this angry, misogynistic incel the internet made him out to be, and that people wanted him to be that way. At face value, this sounds like he's defending Bear, and based on the word choice and the tone of voice, it's easy to think this way. You see, something interesting I noticed is how a lot of creators covering this drama seem to be eerily silent on these words right here.
Again, I need to be very clear here, okay? Ultimately, Bear is the bad guy. He doesn't know what he did until late in the movie, but when he figures it out, he just keeps on rationalizing to himself because, like, he wants Nikki, and he doesn't seem to really care that she's being tortured the whole time, but rather he wants the demon to just act like Nikki so that he can pretend that he's actually dating Nikki, you know? Like, this is a bad dude. Yes, absolutely. Nikki is completely innocent. Her life is forever ruined because of some depressed, selfish loser guy, okay? Yes, like that's the outcome of the movie.
And I think this really just shows a lot about what's actually going on here, because one, this kind of proves to me you didn't watch the full video, or you probably lobotomized yourself 65 times, or you just got caught up in your emotions. Maybe it was all three. Now, this isn't necessarily defense on the review itself. Alex does say a lot of things I disagree with. Alex praises Bear for not immediately sleeping with Nikki after the wish because he thinks she's strung out on drugs. But sorry, I'm not giving Bear a gold star for that. That's just basic human decency, and any sane person is not going to take advantage of someone who is incapacitated or incapable of properly giving consent. I think that is where the review kind of falls apart. Now, were Alex's Latina jokes funny? Personally, I didn't think so, but I wasn't like super offended by them either, and I don't think that's the big problem here. And I completely agree with how people were put off with his characterization of Nikki. Calling a victim of a supernatural trafficking a crystal-wielding Latina is a terrible look, but I don't think it was done with a malicious intent. However, the reality is Bear doesn't officially become the villain until halfway through the movie when he finds out the full mind-controlling effects of the wish and realizes she has no free will and is trapped inside of her own body by the wish and still chooses to keep going. Even trying to alter the wish, if we pay close attention to the scene where Bear is on the phone with the hotline, he doesn't immediately ask to cancel. Nah. He asks to alter the wish and then asks to cancel when the phone guy says that they can't do that, but ultimately that's the point of no return. Alex's assessment of early movie Bear as a shy, awkward, and dorky loser is actually pretty accurate. At the beginning of the movie, you're supposed to kind of relate to Bear. I mean, thinking about your crush is normal, and we've all had an unreciprocated crush as well. It's basically a real-life canon event for everyone. And don't say you didn't. If you do, you're an example of a crush who liked you back day one, and you guys are together present day. You've never had a crush, or you're just being arrogant. Now, granted, I think thinking about her or him all the time and hearing them in every song you listen to is a bit of a stretch for a normal guy. I know for a fact I didn't hear my crush in this song right here. But whatever, we can talk about Bear's pre-wish sanity later on in the video. Because a lot of video essays tend to miss about the movie is that the way Bear's obsession actually works. The film shows us his fixation at the very beginning, yes, but it doesn't start at a 10. It's like a monster movie where we watch the monster grow more and more and more grotesque as the film goes on before it reaches its final form by the end.
Based on what people were saying about this movie online, I expected Bear to be this like horribly angry, misogynistic incel dude, right? But like up until this point, he's just some super socially awkward loser who has a crush on a girl and he uses a $7 wishing toy that he assumes is not going to.
So Alex later on mentions something in his video, and he actually does make a kind of interesting point here. And it's a point the internet seems to actively be ignoring or claiming is a pathetic argument. He brought up Disney's Descendants. Look, this entire situation's crazy, okay? But let's look at cold hard facts. Mal uses a magical potion to force Ben to fall in love with her. She completely overrides his free will and strips away his consent. By every metric of basic logic, Mal's actions are structurally identical to Bear's wish. And Alex, in this point in the video where he brings this up, mentions how there was no real reaction to that like there is with this current movie. Now, when Alex made this comparison, a lot of people framed it as deflection. They accused him of trying to use a Disney movie to absolve Bear for what he did to Nikki, but he actually low-key made a point, and he may have been onto something here. Because regardless of the genre difference, person A likes person B. Person A then uses a magical means of making person A fall in love with them. And it's also against their will. And now, yeah, Mal didn't know Ben liked her back, but you can't really use that as an argument fairly because Mal didn't know. Unlike Bear, who I think knew Nikki did not like him back. But regardless, Alex is making sense when he's saying that. It's the exact wine on a different bottle.
He's out of line, but he's right.
The difference in reaction here is that Obsession is actually the kind of movie that forces us to look the devil head on and actually think about the terrifying and incredibly messed up implications of a love spell. Disney won't do that because that movie is made for kids. It's not like Obsession, which is aimed at a more adult audience and contains explicit themes and graphic violence, whilst also being made to make us think about that stuff. Alex, I think, completely failed to grasp the thematic weight of this movie all the way. Nikki asking Bear to kill her isn't some melodramatic plot twist. It's the ultimate expression of the horror of this film. Her free will has been so utterly stripped away, her bodily autonomy so completely violated by this magic that dying is the only choice she has left that would belong entirely to her. By still trying to relate to Bear, by saying that Bear didn't do it just because the girl he's with asked him to do something that heavy and make an absolutely impossible decision. Now, it's not really a bad take inherently, and Alex is kind of right there. If anyone like you and I were faced with that decision of offing someone we love or offing ourselves to end some kind of curse, we're going to struggle with that. But the line of thinking doesn't work when you apply it to a character like Bear in a scene that is blatantly obvious that Bear is being super selfish right here, especially when you hear the absolute pain in Nikki's voice as she pleads, and he walks away after actually saying to her, "What's so bad about being with me?" Showing that Bear only cares about his ego and his wants, and it's completely fumbled the ball there. Another thing that proves Alex's style doesn't work here. But regardless of how you view Alex because of his Obsession review and the video itself, there's a bigger problem going on here. Now, before I get into this problem, let's be real. Bear does not start this movie off as a normal guy. Hearing your crush in every song you listen to is a massive red flag, but this is a story about a cartoon villain who's evil from the second they step on screen. It's a tragic look at how a universal human flaw, things we all struggle with to different extents, like selfishness, insecurity, and deep cowardice, can completely rot a person from the inside out. At first, his flaw is just basic, emotional, immature selfishness. He wants the girl, and he doesn't care about reality, and in a state of frustration at his own cowardice, he makes a wish that he doesn't even think will work or doom everybody involved. But once that wish comes true, and after he sees that it came true, his cowardice takes the wheel. He's too afraid of rejection to undo the wish immediately, and too weak to face the fact that her love isn't real. The cowardice transforms his everyday insecurities into an active weapon, systematically morphing a lonely, pathetic loser into the monster we rightfully see him as. Here's the absolute core of this controversy. This is exactly what Alex Meyers was trying to look at. He saw this psychological trajectory, and he recognized that the movie was trying to show a gradual deeply unsettling human descent, and he tried to explain that nuance to his audience. But because he tried to track how the movie initially frames Bear as a pitiable loser before revealing the monster underneath, everyone completely lost their minds. The internet caught an immediate case of emotional tunnel vision. Because Alex didn't spend the first 5 minutes of his video screaming into his microphone about how evil Bear was, so people stopped listening to all reason, let the emotions instead of Jesus take the wheel, and assumed he was making excuses and obsessed with defending him. I'll see myself out. They flattened his analysis. They took his explanation of Bear's initial pathetic state and twisted it, whether it be intentional or unintentional, into an endorsement of Bear's later horrific actions. In their rush to be outraged, the community completely blurred the line between a reviewer analyzing the character's breakdown and a person defending a predator. Now, does that mean Alex's explanation was perfect? Absolutely not. This is where the critique comes back in. His review fumbles because he gives Bear credit where credit isn't due, failing to see exactly where that gradual growth of the monster crosses the line into total villainy at times. One of the problems that Alex's video is because of his usual format of covering things in chopped up surface level summary. He ends up missing a few things. The big one being most of the details about the third act, which is probably the most important part of this movie. So I say that was a bad move there. Now, am I in favor of calling out bad takes? Yeah, I am in favor of holding others accountable when they mess up. But here's where the real problem is, and where I think people really need to chill the hell out. Launching personal attacks, labeling someone a degenerate R-word or R-word defender, sending death threats, and weaponizing personal family heartbreak like this guy's divorce, as well as lying about him being divorced 2 times for a poorly worded script, and starting a hate campaign trying to cancel him for covering a movie that doesn't fit his usual style of breakdown. That's a lowball thing to do. And the hate is completely lobotomized. I get that you don't like the review, but painting him out to be a weirdo, pervert, pro-R-word evil man you need to cover your drink around is incredibly disingenuous and manipulative on your part. Now, like you watching this video, I don't know Alex personally. I don't know what he's like behind closed doors, and he does say a lot of things I disagree with in his review, but calling him an R-worder when you know that's not what happened, you might want to do what Michael Jackson said and start with the man in the mirror and ask yourself, am I any better than he is if I have no issue doing that? But what do I know? Just some idiot online who wanted to make drawing videos and video edits. And look, we are so quick to get up in our feelings these days, and we need to chill out with that. I know people are still going to miss my point. Someone out there is already typing in a comment, if they're even watching this, to type a comment, completely ignoring the fact that I literally started this video by telling you Bear is the villain, and I am also going to critique Alex where he went wrong. So I guess good luck having fun twisting my tangent into me defending Bear and his actions. I'm sure you'll try anyway. Bye-bye.
You hate women. What?